Hello guys, it's Derek Tafuma here of the Derek Tafuma Academy, and my website is derektafuma.com. So in this short video that's coming up, I just want to address uh, what I think is probably a misconception by a few people when it comes to blockchain technology and also cryptocurrencies. Now, the reason I'm doing this video is because I think that a lot of people are heavily focused on the up and down, the uh, fluctuating, um, what's going on with the Bitcoin in terms of how its value is changing on the currency markets. And that's all because speculators are trying to make a quick buck out of the Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. But there's a lot more to blockchain technology, which should not be judged on what is happening to cryptocurrencies, such as the Bitcoin. Okay, so I'm going to look at blockchain technology and some of the applications of like blockchain technology, which are not necessarily cryptocurrencies. Okay, so let's start with cryptocurrency and what cryptocurrency is. So cryptocurrency is basically a digital currency. It's a digital currency which is based on cryptography, which means that there is encryption involved. And there being encryption involved means that it is a more secure form of building trust than the traditional fiat currencies. What the fiat currencies have been doing is to rely on the promise of a certain government in order to maintain their value. But we all know what happened in 2008 with the collapse of the subprime mortgages and what subsequently happened with the collapse of the global economy and how Western governments were able to stabilize the situation by printing more money, or what they called QE, or quantitative easing. Okay, so cryptocurrency is just a digital currency. It is not the first digital currency. We've had other digital currencies such as PayPal, which a lot of people have used, which I've also used for making payments online. Now, the difference between this digital currency and cryptocurrency as a digital currency is that cryptocurrencies are encrypted, which means they are more secure than currencies such as PayPal. Okay, so the Bitcoin, which is the most prominent of them all, there are other currencies such as Dash cryptocurrency, and there's a lot more. If you go on Wikipedia, you'll find a whole list of all of these cryptocurrencies, but Bitcoin being the most prominent one and being the one where a lot of people are speculating, which is why its share price is, or its value is fluctuating when you compare it to the fiat currencies such as the US dollar. So Bitcoin is just one example of cryptocurrency, and there are a lot more than just the Bitcoin. But a lot of people only know Bitcoin, and they tend to think that Bitcoin is the actual technology. But Bitcoin is just an application. Okay, it's an application of blockchain technology. So the Bitcoin is based on blockchain technology, just like all the other currencies. Cryptocurrencies are also based on this blockchain technology, a chain of blocks, and each block has all the information in the previous block. So a new block is created when new information is being added to the system, and every computer on the system is notified and it keeps a record of that transaction. So all the transactions are being recorded and the blocks are growing into a chain, which is why we call it blockchain. Okay. So the blockchain is actually the technology behind the Bitcoin. And I saw an article today where properties is actually being purchased using a cryptocurrency. I think they use Bitcoin for the purchase of that property. So I think we're going to see more and more transactions taking place, which would normally take place using something called the fiat currency, like the normal money that we use today. But instead of using that normal cash, we are using this. In this particular instance, they used what we call a cryptocurrency. Okay. So what are the applications of blockchain technology? And they are everywhere, and these are just a few of them. I started off with education because education is an industry where I've been involved for almost 20 years. So I'm fascinated by what could happen to education because, as far as I'm concerned, education has been stagnant for quite a long time, and it has not caught up with other industries in terms of the implementation of some of the applications of a technological nature. So a blockchain is a new technology which is coming up, but education is still struggling to adopt the technologies which are based on the internet. So we also have applications in healthcare, we have applications in agriculture, in governance, that is online voting, and insurance. So what could this mean in education, for example? It means that if I was to write or to produce some materials, some courses, some resources, I could attach a blockchain-based digital certificate, and that certificate would negotiate contracts on my behalf whenever my work was used by anyone, anywhere. So they could negotiate so that I get paid every time somebody uses my resources. Okay. In healthcare, we would have a record of the person's health, moving from one medical practitioner to another one, and the blockchain for that person would be updated every time they interacted with a healthcare professional. Then we have agriculture. In agriculture, we could keep track of certain produce, and farmers could perhaps be able to upload what they have onto the blockchain, and that information would be updated to every other farmer or consumer who may be interested in purchasing that produce. And so if a transaction had to take place, or if the farmer's allocation or the amount of produce that they had was to change in the amount, and then that means that the system would update every person, every stakeholder who is part of this blockchain, and they would know exactly where what is. For example, in Zimbabwe, a person might be in Rwanda and they might have maize, for example, and another person in, say, Chirezi might need that maize. And so on the blockchain, they would know about it. And if that maize then moved to different people or in different region of the country, then that the system would update and everybody would know exactly where what is. Okay, so that's agriculture. But these are just a few examples that I'm giving. And there are a lot more examples in education, in healthcare, in agriculture. I think in education, just to go back to education a little bit, in education, there is a new application that's come up and it's called Academic Coin, some kind of cryptocurrency that's based on the blockchain, which would allow educators to patent, so to speak, their work and also to receive payments for their work. Okay, so I think I explained how you could attach a digital certificate which can negotiate contracts on your behalf, as long as someone is interacting with with your work. Then in governance, it'll be interesting to note that voting could become uh, difficult to rig or to commit fraud, to commit voting fraud, because if people were to vote using an application which is based on the blockchain, it will be impossible to rig an election because every transaction would be recorded and nobody could change the algorithm or could change the data which has been inputted, or try to manipulate the data, because they would have to manipulate everything simultaneously at the same time. And because it's a decentralized system, there is no central server where you can go and tamper with the information. As soon as one person in the node tampers with the information, every other person is notified that such a thing is taking place, and they would need the consent of everyone on the system to be able to work. Then insurance, maybe people would stop. I mean, if you have a car and it's half the time the car is parked, that does not stop the insurance company from asking for their monthly payments. But if it was to be on the blockchain, maybe you could pay a little bit every time you were actually using the vehicle. Okay. And if you're not using the vehicle, and then you wouldn't have to be paying for the insurance. Okay, so those are some of the applications that we see. I'm sure there are people who can explain some of these applications better, but I'm interested in to know what's going on in education, and I will be covering more or going more in depth with education instead of being too generalized, because I think there are people in insurance who would understand, who would be able to explain better how things are working in the context of insurance or healthcare or agriculture or e-governance. Okay, guys, so thank you for listening. I will be back again shortly with more on the blockchain technology and education. Thank you for watching. If you have a contribution to make, please just put it in the comments below. And also, if you'd like to get more of my videos, you can subscribe, and also you can set up a notification alert so that you are notified every time I post a new video. And I intend to post as much as possible in the future. Thank you again for watching.